Business Honoring Spirituality. And this morning we had an amazing speaker come to us and a webinar.
Great morning here at BHS, and I intend to be back soon.
Hello, welcome to BHS. Pardon me while I adjust my webcam settings. I'm coming in bright hot this morning from my back patio. BHS starts with a little pray-in. So I just invite you to sit back, take a deep breath, and join us for a short prayer before our program begins. So with this deep cleansing, relaxing breath, I just sink deeper into who I am and my surroundings, knowing that all around me is unconditional love, great abundance and prosperity, and confidence in knowing who I am and what I'm here to do. And with this divine awareness, I know that the divinity is also within me, that inside me is a divine spark of great capabilities, great ability to be aware to the opportunities that are all around me, and to connect with a like-minded community, a circle of influence that's here to support me and lift me up. And now I realize that I'm on this path to a higher and better version of myself. I'm taking steps every day to improve my knowledge, improve my awareness, improve my skills, and my personal and professional development is being elevated with every step I take. And I know that's true for everyone around me. And so with this great awareness, I just sink deeper into a sense of gratitude for everything that I have. I'm so grateful for each and every person that I get to connect with, and that is the divine truth. And so with that, I just release this prayer up into the law, knowing that it's already happening, it's already taking place, and that we're just here to increase our own development. So thank you, and so it is. Today on our program, we've got one of our own, a member of the board, and someone who you should all recognize. But first, the mission for BHS is to empower business professionals to be successful through education, connection, and spiritual principles. And after this short presentation, I invite you to join us for some lively breakout room discussions of the topic that'll be presented here today. I'm your host. My name's Anthony Pritchard, and Kevin Lockwood is certified as a visionary leadership and consciousness coach. He has a Six Sigma black belt and is a program and risk management trader. He's a licensed spiritual practitioner as well. He offers 30 years of experience creating transformation from the inside out for individuals, Fortune 500 companies, government agencies, and nonprofit organizations in over 50 countries. Kevin loves coaching and consulting because the best and most empowering solutions not only involve people facing challenges, but indeed come from deep within. You can find him at envoypeace.com. welcome. Kevin, thanks for being our presenter today.
Hey, BHS. Thanks for joining us today. Thank you, Anthony, for that beautiful pray-in, and thank you for inviting me here today. It's a gift. It's a pleasure to be able to share with you all. And let's jump right in. Can you pop the slides up there? Thanks, Anthony. Just want to, before we go any further, I just want to start with the why of what I do and how I got here. And just raise your hand if you're familiar with this TED Talk with Simon Sinek. And I'll assume that over half of you probably raised your hands. So if you're the other small portion, if you haven't seen this, there's actually a condensed 5-minute version if you don't have time for the 20-minute version. And it's well worth the view. At a young age, my why was about service. And it was especially about service to my country. However, after about 6 years in the military and 12 years as a military contractor, I felt something larger was calling to me, a service to my country. And my focus of why began to shift on how I can help individuals and groups transform and succeed in life. And in 2006, I left my Fortune 500 corporate job to wander the world and see how I might serve in other ways. I traveled to Thailand, then India, then back to Thailand. I visited ashrams and monasteries and worked with children and organizations to help them find peace inside and their potential within. And in early 2007, I made my way back through Denver and found myself in Uganda. And that's where I met this man, Dr. Moses Musazi. He was the head of the electrical engineering department at Makerere University, which is probably the largest and most prominent university in Uganda. And I love to be able to share all the ways that he has helped evolve society, especially for developing countries. But I'm going to focus on the first thing we worked on together. When I met Moses, he showed me this biosand filter developed at Calgary University. He said the sand and gravel develop their own good bacteria, like our stomach, and it kills off the harmful microbes and purifies the water. And he said the only challenge with this type of biosand filter in bringing it into a developing country was that it's a free resource. And I said, a free resource? What's that mean, Moses? He said, well, life is a little more basic here. It's about survival. And if you saw a bucket of sand and gravel at the watering hole, wouldn't it be logical to dump that stuff out and use the bucket to carry water back home? Especially this bucket on the bottom, it's got a spigot on it. How handy would that be? And so Moses did a brilliant thing. He redesigned this biosand filter to go into a concrete structure. And once it's delivered to where it's needed and filled with sand and gravel, it's so heavy you can't move it. And it only costs about as much as a fancy filter that we would put in our modern refrigerators. And so it's really brilliant. In fact, if you Google biosand filter today, you'll see more pictures of this than of the buckets. So immediately I said to Moses, hey, Moses, have you presented this idea to the WASH Cluster? Now, the WASH Cluster is a UN organization that brings nonprofit and government organizations together to share the best practices in water, sanitation, and hygiene, and to most effectively distribute resources around countries that need it. So Moses said to me, yeah, I contacted them, but they're not interested. And I was like, I don't get it. So the next day I called up the WASH Cluster, and a Ugandan woman answered, and I could tell by her voice and her accent that she was a Ugandan woman. And I'm sure she could tell by my voice and accent that I was likely a white American male. And so now I've been in Uganda for less than a week. I really don't know anything about water, sanitation, and hygiene, but I tell her about this amazing water filtration system, and she invites me to come present. So the following week, Moses and I go in there. He brings all his charts, diagrams, water samples, and tests from all over Uganda, and he presents to the board there at the WASH Cluster, which is a mixture of Europeans and Ugandans. And when he gets done presenting, guess who they turn to and ask questions of? Me. Now, of course, I don't know crap, literally, about water, sanitation, and health. So I keep looking to Moses. I've just arrived in Uganda, and he answers all their questions. And in the end, they're not interested. So to emphasize the point I'm trying to make, about a year later, I'm in Uganda still, and Obama is running in the primaries. And I pick up the Ugandan paper one morning, and there's an article there by a Ugandan man, and it says, "We should all hope that Barack Obama doesn't get elected president of the United States because it will show the world once and for all that a black man can't do it." And what I love about Uganda is that they don't have any type of political correctness. They just express their opinions in black and white, no matter what. So maybe our president could have been popular, but what was holding that back? So if we look back in Ugandan history, some of you might remember this man, Idi Amin. He was one of the first presidents, and he was really one of the most ruthless and cruel leaders the world has ever seen. And Forrest Whitaker does an amazing job of playing Idi Amin in the movie called The King of Scotland, which came out around this same time. And another great movie to watch. It will really give you some insight on the pain and challenges that Uganda went through during this time. And so prior to independence from England and civil war, Ugandans, subconsciously reflect back to a time when there was peace and order in the nation under British colonization. And they see this white man as a good and fair leader. In fact, the world in general carries this implicit bias and false belief that women and people of color can't do it. Because we all saw when we growing up for centuries that white men were in power. And this is called implicit bias, right? Implicit bias, and it affects our abilities to see things clearly and make decisions wisely. So by implicit bias, Idi Amin was a bad ruler, Barack Obama would be a mess, right? So I'll give you some more examples about how influences that from our childhood, affect us as adults. About 10 years ago, I was at a workshop, and a close friend of mine, she asked me this question. She says, "Well, how's your relationship going?" And I said, "Well, we're back on a break again." She says, "What do you mean?" "Well, she needed to take a break for a week, and that turned into 2 weeks, and now it's 3 weeks. But we should be back together again soon." I'm thinking. She says, "What do you mean? How often do you take breaks in your relationship?" I'm like, "Well, it's the third one this year." And she asked, "Kevin, what are you doing with this woman?" And I began to list off all the wonderful qualities that I see in her and on our relationship. And then she looks at me seriously and asks in a tone that I realize she's asking a deeper question. And I close my eyes and I feel into the pain that's there. And the vision that comes to my mind's eye is I'm 3 years old and I'm up and my nose is pressed against my sister's door, and I want to get into her bedroom so that we can play together. But she doesn't want me. She doesn't want to play with me. She doesn't have time for me or any desire to play with her little brother. And then that I realized that I've been reliving this relationship for decades with most of the women I've been dating, right? I was trying to recreate and shift that relationship I had with my sister in these new relationships that I was developing. And this is how triggers and limiting beliefs get ingrained in our subconscious and affect our life as we become adults. So what's this all have to do with the puzzle of our customers? Well, it's our job in all the services we provide to help people fulfill their needs and wants. There are people in business to help us find our first car. And then once we've got a car, well, we better find a better job to pay for that car. And once we've got a car and a better job, I'd be nice to have a beautiful home. Well, if I'm going to get a home, I need to find somebody to help me with a loan. Now I've got all this money flowing around. I need some financial advice. I need people to help me maintain my car and my house. Probably need some organizational help around my life and what I'm doing and how I organize my house. And then now I'm getting really worried about my health. I need some help there. With all this other stuff in life, I'm really lonely. I need some companionship. And in order for that to work out, I'm probably going to need some help with personal growth. And what I'm really looking for is peace of mind. Better get some insurance. And after all that, I need a vacation, etc. So sorry if I haven't covered the area of service you provide, but you're getting the idea, right? And so raise your hand if you're aware that each one of these decisions involves an emotional process. And keep your hand up, raise your other hand maybe, if you realize that choosing you to help provide that service is also an emotional decision process. So it's helpful for us to be aware of the big sisters and Idi Amins in our clients' lives and in our lives that block us from accepting the abundance of life that's already ours, from getting the things that we really desire in life. So in the case of the Ugandan WASH cluster, their implicit bias and false beliefs really helped created a barrier from making a decision that would really support the health of the people in their country. In my case, it was really affecting, my choices around companionship. And another quick story, I ran into another instance of childhood trauma where I had asked my big sister to read me a book. And she said to me, she says, "I don't want to read your book. Your books are stupid." So there's no harm meant in that. She was telling her truth. But as a little child, I took on from the authority of life, my older sister, that my books were stupid. And I can tell you all through elementary school, high school, and even college, I didn't hardly read any books at all. It wasn't until I was in my early 20s that I rediscovered my love of books. So it took me a while, shift gears here, to realize that passion alone for my business wouldn't grow it at a sustainable rate. Word of mouth takes time. So I really needed to direct my marketing for my business towards relating with my potential clients' needs and wants, where they're at in life and where they want to go. I needed a compass to point my passion in the direction of my clients and the challenges that they face. And before we get into compassion, I think it's an overused and often misunderstood term. Words change meaning over time and in different cultures. So here's some other examples. Saint Nicholas, right, would have brought presents to the naughty children and not the nice ones. Now Santa Claus does the exact opposite, right? Used to be when texting first started that LOL really meant laughing out loud, or for some people it meant lots of love. But now it means more like, "Hey, yeah, I got your text. It was amusing. Thanks very much." Right? It's got shifted its meaning. So if we look at the British meanings of words, like a bum is your fanny, and fanny is a dirty word, and no British person could really understand why somebody would want to stay at Trump Towers. So let's look at compassion. Right? And for a moment, let's just take a pause and slow down. And I invite you to take a deep breath in and let it go. And if you weren't paying attention, that's okay. We'll do it again. And this time, I want you to breathe slowly and fully into your heart. And then blow it out completely. Breathing is natural. It's magical and it's life-sustaining. It's as natural and easy as the first step of compassion, which involves feeling. Emotions are just energy. They come and go like the breath. And if your mind just exploded there, thanks for paying attention, because unless you're under 5 years old, emotions coming and going like the breath is something that you've unlearned. Typically, we do lots of things with emotions. We project them, we push them down, we perpetuate ones we're comfortable with, but allowing them to flow, right? The natural human capacity of our being, of our body, is something that we've unlearned. And I would say in my travels around the world that Americans are the best at not allowing emotion to flow. So this is something that we can relearn or remember, that emotion is a natural thing. And the capacity for large emotions is another thing we've really lost. We tend to squash our emotions into a mid-zone, right? It's the 2-year-old agility of emotion is something I really admire. It's one of those qualities of emotional intelligence, to be able to fully feel and to fully transition from one moment of being upset and the next moment of laughing. So all this to say, the first step of compassion in business is to simply feel into whatever challenging emotions are present for our clients or our potential clients. And we have an organ that's naturally suited for this. The heart, for real, is capable of connecting with the emotions of another person. Pause again. All right, where does that come from? I'm sure many of you are familiar with the Heart Math Institute and a study they did where they loaded up a bunch of images on a computer, and some of them were painful images. Scenes of war, car accidents, children starving, and other pictures were very pleasant: sunsets, couples holding hands, children playing, right? And so all these images are stacked up in the computer, and they'll display an image, and then the screen goes blank for 15 seconds, and then they jump to the next image. And that jumping to the next image, a computer random number generator doesn't kick off until that image is going to be displayed. Well, what the Heart Math Institute did was they hooked a bunch of electrodes up to the heart to see what was going on, right? And the heart would send out a signal, an energetic signal, as soon as the screen went blank, and 15 seconds before the random number generator picked off and it chose the picture. So this is where I'm part of one of the studies I'm basing that, yeah, the heart has this intuitive awareness of what's happening. The heart has an intuitive ability to connect with emotions of another person. Right? So I like to also compare it to another study where they hooked up electrodes to plants, and the plants knew, right, or send out a different signal if someone was coming in to prune them or to harvest them or to water them. So I like to say that the heart functions like that. It's not attached, it doesn't have judgment over what's going to happen, but it provides a signal of what's going to happen. This connection with another person is possible. And when we can allow that connection to happen and allow feelings to be fully felt with a client, right, this is powerfully transforming, right? Because when we allow challenging emotions to be felt, we begin to release the limiting thoughts and beliefs that are stored with them. That trauma, if you will, of my sister not playing with me, right? The emotion of that is stored with the experience, right? And the best way to release that experience and the subconscious beliefs and limiting thoughts that we have around it is to actually feel back into it and let it flow again so that it can release. All right, so when we allow these challenging emotions to be felt, we begin to release the limiting thoughts and beliefs about the Idi Amins and big sisters in our life. And when we support our clients in feeling through a challenge, the natural flow of emotions, that's natural capacity as a human being, is cleansing to our bodies. All right, that was the first step. Now the second step of compassion involves the mind, because the mind can envision what's possible, amazing possibilities for our clients. And when we give that vision back over to the powerhouse of our hearts and feel what's possible, we create an energetic path, right, for creating from the challenging emotion of what's present to the expansive emotion of what's possible, right? This is compassion. And metaphysically, what we're creating here is this path that our clients are free to follow or not, but we're basically feeling this energetic path of what's possible, right? So remember, emotions are just energy in motion, and they are the creative force of life, and the heart is the power factory for emotions. Thank goodness the energy of my heart is at least 10 times greater than that of my mind, because who knows where I'd be if my mind was leading the way. So any challenges that we or our clients may have can be supported with these two steps of compassion. So step one, again, is take the time to open into our clients' humanness and feel the emotions of whatever they're experiencing. Challenges with money or schedule, companionship, COVID-19, anxiety, or busyness in life. This is where, when we first meet with a potential client, we can be asking meaningful questions to connect them with what's going on in their life. What challenges are they facing? What are they hoping to accomplish? And how can we best help them? Right? And that last question, how can we best help them, leads into step two of compassion. Right? Here, our experience of working with other clients that have achieved success with us is helpful, because that experience allows our minds to easily envision what's possible and our hearts to feel the potential of wealth, freedom, connection, health, fun, and relaxation. So if you're curious what initially drew my attention to compassion, it was this book called Awakening to Oneness. And its research shows that the most effective practitioners can empathetically feel into a challenge and also have a vision of wholeness and well-being. And as I dove in further, I found more books and studies that support this. And I got really excited when I recognized that compassion is the essence of why the work I do is transformative. That's the magic sauce. I'm like, wow, I begin to realize that no matter what role we're playing, massage therapist, Reiki master, real estate agent, financial advisor, parent, coach, friend, compassion is key for supporting change and new ways of being and experiencing life. So back to where we're at. Unfortunately, many of us have been taught to create this emotional barrier between ourselves and others, right? Maintain your boundaries, right? So when we're working with a person, that's sympathy. You're feeling for them, and it keeps you energetically separate. And ironically, it's draining. So for therapists, practitioners that work in this realm of sympathy, it's really draining for them once they've gone through a bunch of clients for the day, because there's no avenue for the loving energy of appreciation to flow back to them. So I can really appreciate that our dictionaries keep up with the modern uses of words. And over time, the true origin of meaning of a word can get lost in a culture. So compassion is really not about sympathy nor pity. Pity sees someone as incapable of rising above their challenge. And can you imagine how difficult it would be to help a client if you see them as incapable? So raise your hand if you experience this or can imagine experiencing this with a client, and as you work with them and you're having to be sympathetic with them instead of empathetic with them and trying to get them to where they want to be, right? And you don't have an awareness that they can do it, right? So neither is compassion about alleviating pain. So to me, that sounds like take 2 aspirin and call me in the morning. Compassion is willing to open up into pain, unravel it at its core, right? And gain wisdom from it. That the thing I was talking about before, but when we allow that emotional energy to flow of old traumas, it begins to break them down, and we can crack open the falsities that are there and the things we took on. So here's another way of looking at it. Sympathetic pity is stuck in the problem. It's absent of equanimity and sees the other person as less than who they are, separate and powerless. On the other hand, emotional bypass would be just jumping to the solution without acceptance for the emotional pain that's here. So compassion is not attached to, nor does it judge where we're at or where we're going to. It just welcomes it all. It's a journey we take together, meeting a person wherever they're at, and then feeling the energetic path into their natural wholeness, well-being, and amazing possibilities. And can you imagine how this would look and feel if you applied it to your initial meeting with a client and how you work with a client? Practicing compassion will intuitively lead you to the best way to serve your client. So compassion in business involves those things we would expect: empathy, kindness, generosity, and some things that maybe we're just beginning to really appreciate: courage, equanimity, and acceptance. Equanimity in recognizing that we're not better than the other person, right? We're equal. We're both human. We're both infinite spirits having a human experience. And it can also take courage to empathetically feel with another person, because we've contracted our capacity to actually feel, and emotion can be challenging. So when we learn to allow emotion to flow, this having courage to learn that and feel with another person is the power of compassion. And above all, the most powerful components of compassion are the 2 steps I've been talking about, right? Empathetically feeling into the pain of an experience, and in the same breath, knowing the power and resilience of the human spirit to create change and new possibilities. And this is why I love what I do as a life coach. I get to feel through challenges with my clients. We both gain from the wisdom that's revealed. And we get to travel together on a journey of personal fulfillment. And another way I see it is that my clients show up with my stuff, with my problems, my challenges, because we all really have the same challenges going on in life. And we work together to reveal their wisdom. And then I get to share in the revelation and the shift and change that they have in their life. And so, how are we doing on time? Oh, okay, we're a little bit slow. So what I would like to do at this moment is I would do an exercise, but I think I want to shift over to Zoom. Can we do that now, Anthony?
Yeah, we can switch over.
Let's switch over to Zoom, and please come over. Anthony's going to post the link there, and our president, Christopher Holgate, is waiting there. I'll join you over in Zoom, and then I'll take you through an exercise of feeling compassion move in your body and what it's like. So thanks so much for your time so far. Look forward to see you over on Zoom.